In fact, if you're not using your Sojourn slide to reposition for off angles or to take free sight lines when you're not being dove, you're throwing. You have to. If you've ever played Sojourn into snipers, you have to use your slide as like a grapple tool, because otherwise you're saving it for a dive that's never going to come. So let's talk a little bit about SEEKER. So SEEKER has been involved in the scene. Actually, you know what? Let's actually pull up Mr. SEEKER's Wikipedia. SEEKER, Overwatch. Ignoring this, I mean, what is this? I mean, this is just abominable. What is that? Do I look like that, chat? Do I have any cringe pictures that are that bad? You guys might remember the end of the 2022 season. He got picked up from Boston Uprising with the Western Revival. Played really, really well. And now he's streaming. Now he's on Timeless, and he just freaking won the Flash Ops. Phenomenal Hitscan player. There's really not a whole lot to it. Okay, so role in the composition here. So it's actually pretty simple. A lot of Sojourn's role and Brawl is pretty simple for the most part. You're going to try and hold an angle. If you can hold an angle without getting poked out, you're going to hold an angle and do so. If you can't hold an angle without getting poked out, then you're going to hold a more conservative angle with your team and find a rail on an angle mid-fight. Because one of the things with Sojourn is she doesn't really do a lot of good range damage until she has a rail. So if you take an early angle and then you're getting doinked by the enemy Sojourn or the enemy Mei or the enemy Bap, you might have to wait until you have rail to take an off angle. But in Brawl, you're generally, because there's not as much like poke damage like Hanzo and such, you can generally take angles a little bit earlier and build your rail up a little bit faster while also threatening backline. You want to use your disruptor shot to zone sightlines, basically anywhere where there's like an angle where the Baptiste is sitting. If there's a choke where there may, like disruptor shot can be really good at forcing ice block and brawl trades if you get that off angle. And then more often than not, you're just going to use your disruptor shot or your slide in one of two ways. If you get pushed by the enemy Ramatra, you have the ability to slide away. But also, as your team pushes in, you can utilize your slide to deepen your angle. Sojourn is pretty basic in Brawl Mirrors. There isn't as much nuance as there are in other things. The main reason why you see so much Sojourn right now is not just because Sojourn is strong, but also because too many of the other Hitscan characters get chased down and punched in the face by Ramatra, right? Whereas Sojourn is really impossible to lock down by the Ramatra. So trying to hold that conservative off angle. That disruptor shot is kind of weird. I'm not going to lie with you guys. This would be a much better angle for disruptor shot. And you guys know me. I'm going to whine about disruptor shot literally nonstop. So love this angle. Love this shot. Love to see it. What separates the best Sojourns is the ability to transition from projectile aim to hitscan quickly and smoothly. So basically transitioning into your rail perfectly. So you're going to see it right here. He's leading. This is a pretty close range tracking here. But he's leading a shot slightly, and then right there, he immediately makes it. It's so fast you don't even notice it. He lines up the shot instantly. So something you're gonna have to keep an eye on. Slides off on the angle, goes for backline. Uses that disruptor shot to try and hold the angle, but also gets disruptor shot. Slides off on the angle, and this is something that we say is really, really unique to Sojourn. You would never see any other Hitscan be able to do this. So he's gonna build charge here. Slide to the angle, slide up, do a decent amount of damage here, and then go for the rail and Lucio. There's the kill. I mean, that's just brilliant, right? And this is what makes Sojourn exceptional. It's not just the ability to reposition to avoid damage. It's the reposition to set up aggressive angles, right? Soldier is similar. Sojourn's just faster. Cooldown reliant, but faster. What was his go cue to slide aggressively like that? Great question. You guys tell me. What was the go cue? What have we seen? Disruptor shot. We've seen Sojourn Bap reposition. We've seen Mei wall. And we see how naked that this side is. We also see that our team is pushing at the same time. So you have a little bit of rail charge. You have seen the enemy backline pivot to this angle. And you see your team pushing. Take an angle. It was well timed. It was well placed. And he had a little bit of rail going into it. It was a team call plus partial charge. Disruptor shots for space. This is so important. I had a review on Spilo 2 with a top 500 Sojourn player not too long ago. And all we did, we talked about disruptor shot. And all we did is we asked, is that space that you're clearing right there important? Right? This disruptor shot might do like 30 damage, might not do that much damage. But if it makes it uncomfortable, painful, or even just removes the Sojourn from peeking out this angle, it's really, really valuable. And you notice that the slide is almost like, it's more like a dive tool, right? Than a defensive tool. When they're not playing characters that are going to 3-2-1 dive you over and over and over again, there's a couple of odd rails I'll point out, but like it sets up, like Chopper has no idea that this is not even fair, right? Chopper doesn't even know that he's there. A couple of odd rails. I want to talk about this. Like right here. 17 HP, kind of an odd rail there. I've noticed that a couple of times from Seeker where he tends to spam his rails a couple of times with too low charge where it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. So that's one of my critiques, but yeah. Again, managing his range really, really well. It's such a far distance. Again, does that space matter? Yes. Oh, he gets sucked out of his... Does he get booped out of it? What happens here? Does he slide into a rock? Yeah, he messes it up. He slides off the stairs. But a huge beat from Vega, actually. That's actually such a nice beat. Now, how is he going to set up his ultimate? Looks like he's doing something a little cheeky here, but he gets scouted. Yeah, he's definitely looking for a cheeky play here. I think he gets scouted. Yeah, he gets scouted. But he does build a little charge, so that's useful. So he's entering this fight at a slight rail advantage. Now he's going to go for his ultimate. They mirror. Now it's risky there because he doesn't have a lot of support. But it scares him enough to where they use not only the Sojourn ult, but the beat in response. So now red team's going to kite. That's a predictive disruptor shot. Again, I'm asking you guys, does this angle matter right now? Does this space that this is discouraging matter? And the answer is yes, absolutely. There's nobody there just yet, but it probably does. Like there's a very high chance that Chopper, and this is going to be terrifying. Chopper with rail there, he's going to get a kill. So Chopper actually sees a disruptor shot, turns around, and goes back to his team. So even though it didn't get a single tick of damage, the disruptor shot was good. Again, predictive disruptor shot. That one I don't like as much because looking at where the fight has shifted to, it looks like we're going to be fighting here. I'm not as scared of that angle, so I don't love that disruptor shot as much. I understand it. I don't like it, though. The other fight, it looked like they were disengaging to where that angle was scary. He goes for the low rail shot there because it is going to be BAP window boosted. There's, again, the disruptor shot in the off angle. It's BAP windowed as well. Nice. Really nice blizzard there. Bam. Slides on the angle. You guys notice it? It's so risky to slide on the angle, even versus these brawl compositions. So you have to time it perfectly. Every single time that he goes for it, it's in response to Hawk or somewhere from his brawl, or some team from his brawl, pushing as a result, right? He doesn't ever slide in by himself. He slides in by himself on the angle sometimes, but his team is pushing elsewhere at the same time, so they can't all put resources on him. Off angle, 3, 2, 1 push. Beat gauge, or beat response, blizzard response. Just chunking Ramattra because they've used double brawl ult, right? And he chips Liar. He knows he can't push with that there because they've beat engaged. He's holding a slide, holding a slide. He's not sliding in because he knows that Ram will catch him. Now he can slide in because he's able to go past the Ramattra. Building that rail, holding the angle. Disruptor shot on that angle. Very annoying for that Sojourn to deal with. Slides for the shot, doesn't quite hit the shot. Definitely a higher risk play, but I'm going to assume that it happened because they were down one, so he felt like he needed to go for a high risk play. And this fight is still winnable. Okay, maybe not. Again, it's the timing of these disruptor shots which kind of make me twiddle my fingers a little bit. It's just one of those things where like this fight's about to start. I want the disruptor shot placed right now. This is when. So whenever, like disruptor shot is to use it to control space is really good. The question is not just when to, or where to use it, excuse me, I gave it away, but when to use it, right? Like if you're looking to take any sort of proactive angle like this here, you need to have this disruptor shot to make this play more worthwhile. And I don't like that we've pre-placed it. This disruptor shot would have been so much more valuable. We're going to re-push that angle. Now we have disruptor shot though. So that's like, you see how much more effective that was? Immediately forces Sojourn slide out. Always contesting these angles with cover. Still has his slide, so he's okay. Body shot, one shot. Shifts the angle, bam, bam. Rail into disruptor shot. Huge. I think that's going to be a cap. Yeah, that's going to be a cap. Any questions so far, guys? So I think, like, obviously the key thing here is the cover usage is really exceptional. The rail accuracy, the positioning is really good. Sliding onto those aggressive angles mid-fight as a result of the team pushing. The disruptor shots have been really good, but I'm not always loved the timing of when they're actually being used. And then the big key thing with the ultimates as well is you've actually noticed he's not had a lot of, like, really big pop-off ultimates. It's because he's actually playing around the enemy's response. When they have beat and Blizzard and other, they're basically, he's pressing Q and they're responding with like 2 ultimates. So guess what? He's baiting it and then living. He's taking a 2-for-1 trade every single time and still has a chance of getting a pick. Why do pro Sojourners use slide so aggressively no real area they're going towards? It's because they trust their supports more to keep them. Well, the thing is that they are going to a real area. What they're doing is they're opening up a different sight line. The enemy team, for example, look at the enemy team's positioning right now. You see the backline's positioning? Everybody's positioning to avoid this angle right here. If you build rail while your team hawk pushes here, and you're able to utilize slide to go up over this roof, you have opened up and denied their cover by adjusting your sight line. So a lot of what the slide is used for is not necessarily to shift from off angle to off angle. It's to open up a different sight line so that you can actually shoot backline. But yeah, so it's all about, it's like it's similar to how a Widow uses her grapple when she doesn't necessarily need to use it to get out of jail free, just to open up a different angle. That's how Sojourns use slide. And at this, when there's not a Tracer, when there's not a Winston that's going to be diving you, you can use your slide a lot more proactively to just open up sightlines because you're less likely to be dove, quote unquote dove, for not having slide. Sliding in angles instead of keeping it seems like playing on a knife edge a lot of times. High risk, high reward. Well, it depends on how and where you slide to. You'll notice a lot of times that Seeker will slide to a different location with cover. He also times it perfectly well. And he also makes sure that he has his rail when he goes for it, that there's an actual reward to the risk. You can also look at in a lot of situations like this where he'll utilize his slide in distances like this because what is the enemy team going to do when he wastes his slide here, right? The Ramacha can't reach him. The Lucio can't reach him. It's hard for them to punish him for not having his defensive cooldown. It's like a Widowmaker. A Widowmaker is going to grapple shot off of cooldown until you swap Wrecking Ball. A Widowmaker is going to grapple shot off of cooldown as long as you're far enough away to where she doesn't need it to reposition. It's the same thing. In fact, if you're not using your Sojourn slide to reposition for off angles or to take free sightlines, when you're not being dove, you're throwing. You have to. If you've ever played Sojourn into snipers, you have to use your slide as like a grapple tool because otherwise you're saving it for a dive that's never going to come. Again, think about like Widow grapple. If you're playing Circuit Royale and you're not spamming your grapple off of cooldown in a Widow duel because they don't have dive, then you're throwing. You need to be using that grapple to shift your sightlines. So if you look at this here and there's no real dive threat here, right? We want to be seeing, using this to open up different sightlines. Has the rail, he takes it. He even uses the rail to rush it here. I mean, look at how risky this is, right? Like he tried to use the slide to get here faster when he had rail, when the brawl was happening. You notice that? When he had rail, when the brawl was happening, use the slide aggressively, comboed it with his disruptor shot, which is brilliant. You know this is going to force lamp. But also, how is he going to get punished for this? He's right near to cover. These guys aren't like 3, 2, 1 speed on top of you characters. Maybe the Sojourn slides after him with rail. That's like the worst thing that could possibly happen. And there it is. There's lamp. And he just walks away. See, that's it. Like this is the worst thing that could have happened. And he would have been fine if his team had been dead. Love the angle. Again, the disruptor shot. I want to point out again the disruptor shot. I don't mind the angle there. It's a good disruptor shot, but it's just like you don't really need it. And you would love the value spike of comboing your cooldowns now is so much better, right? I guess he actually ends up getting it in time, so maybe it's okay. Oh my goodness gracious. Good disruptor shot and intention. It gets blocked by Maywall though. Marking that Sojourn, sliding in. Wow. Doesn't want to let that Sojourn do what he does to him. They end up marking each other on those off angles. Again, this disruptor shot is so early, it's honestly not too bad because this time he'll probably get it back in time. But yeah. Oh, they're going to rotate on him. But he slides away. That's a good disruptor shot. And again, notice this. Notice that this is ego, guys. Let's not pretend this is an ego, right? Not ego like bad ego, but it's like confidence, right? He uses his disruptor shot on the choke when the enemy team pushes. Good disruptor shot. Slides in. He has a little bit of rail. It's scary. But then he drops to cover. Oh no, I guess he was going for Rocket there. Kind of odd. Rocket was full HP. I would have expected him to go for this with rail. I think this is a misplay from him. So he goes for Rocket, but Rocket's a May. Rocket has too much. Rocket is a May and Rocket has full HP. I would have much rather preferred to save that rail and go for this play right here. And I also would have preferred to save the disruptor shot too. You notice he uses the disruptor shot and slides away. I think this fight's lost. You just need trades. So he goes for the disruptor shot here, which again is fine. But man, you could totally kill Chopper here. Again, do you notice it? He almost kites it. It's the same thing. These guys, They beat Sojourn ult mirror. I think he's a little early on the flank. I would have preferred a little bit more patience. So here's what I would have liked from Seeker. 3, don't shoot. Don't even shoot. So he shoots here. He should not shoot here. He should not shoot here. He's totally by himself. His Bapaloosa here on the angle. He needs to hide. Wait. Ult now. And the element of surprise, he might actually Ajax Liar here. This is poorly timed. May dies through window. He had window. Oh, I'm sorry, chat. You're right. I'm a total idiot. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. I was so confused. Oh, one shot body shot. Yeah. This is way too early. This type of play is like super greedy, solo flank, like this deep with ult, but we've seen some success with it. But he has to be later here. He has to be later. Slides away. This fight's probably lost. Oh, he almost gets it. Now just dying card. They're calling for it a very aggressive, and so he's like, oh shoot, break May wall. There's the BAP window. I can't stay here. He slides through and creates an offing on the other side. This is really risky. But if any resource that they put on him, they're not putting on somebody else. And he's far enough of the way to where he should be okay. These disruptor shots are getting baited just a tiny bit early. I would have just loved a little bit more patience. I like this angle here. Remember that Chopper was holding this angle previously. Again, it's like a lot of these cooldowns. I'm just telling you, like we need like this is when you need your disruptor shot, right? You need your disruptor shot right now. This is a great play from Chopper there. Look at that. Huge pincer play from Blue. And then they mirror the beat later. Mirror ult. They just have more ultimates. But that was a good try from Blue. They're looking to push, aren't they? I can smell it. Scary. A little bit of an awkward push here. Slides. Notice when he's sliding on the angle, right? Repositions quickly. He has charge. The fight is starting. He's even a little bit late. But because he's late, the enemy team is not expecting him. His team loses because I think the fight plan there was really bad. I don't know what the plan was there. They just pushed in like idiots. Again, these early disruptor shots. It's never the placement with like even that controlling that angle is pretty good. But they're not even really utilizing that angle right now. I mean, maybe it's okay to help this team to rotate. It might be that he's also using it to deny that Sojourn from building rail early in the fight. That's the only other thing that I can think of. That is a possibility. That's an unfortunate miss. That's okay. The angle's good. That's a good disruptor shot. In terms of timing here, forces the Sojourn out. Ram out. It's a good little bit of a trade there, back and forth. Holding again the long angle. There's not a lot of good off angles here that aren't too isolated here. Misses the rail, slides out. Rams wasted his time. Still going for that Lucio. He's trying to find that Lucio. They need to get one kill here. They don't. Oosh. Wait. No, they don't get a kill. Ouch. Live. They have beat. You don't. There's your beat. You slide in. They don't lamp. He needs to live. He does live. Good shot on the liar there. Huge. I think that's it, chat. I think that's it. So, again, the angles, the use of the slide and the mechanics, unbelievable, really. And that's it. I think this is the last match. I think this is the last map, before the grand finals. So a lot to talk about here. Really, the positioning was the key thing. Like the willingness to hold angles whenever he possibly can, but more importantly, to reposition to angles when he had rail, when his team is pushing. There wasn't a direct dive threat, so he was very flexible with it. Obviously, the mechanics are crazy. The ults were really good, especially when he knew that they were going to like stack multiple ultimates to counter his. They definitely had a strategy around that. Key critique there would be the disruptor shots. I think there's definitely probably some strategy here when it comes to denying the enemy Sojourn from building rail before the fight starts. But I do think that that's something that you have to find a balance between that and also like there are really good chokes to use that disruptor shot on when the fight starts, and using them too early before that opportunity presents itself feels kind of bad. Using that cooldown off of cooldown, I don't think is the best way to utilize it. Any questions, guys, specifically about Seeker Sojourn? When are some good times to ult? Don't overthink it. If the fight starts, it's a great ultimate to open with. It's a great ultimate to finish with. Just if you have a sightline, and you have a decent position, it's a good time to ult. Maybe he was using it too early when he has a second one mid-fight. I think the reason why I'm a little bit concerned about using it mid-fight is that you want to have it available early in brawl trades. And then also, if you see those off angles where you can take those duels, like you guys saw it with the Sojourn, right? having that is it's a really great brawl tool, 1v1 tool as well. So I understand what you're saying. Like, oh, if you use it, you'll get one per fight. So why not have it mid-fight as opposed to early fight? But I think if you see those opportunities early fight to take those aggressive angles, to take those aggressive 1v1s, or to win those brawl trades, the sooner you use it, the better, I think. And you could also argue if you use it at the start of the fight, you might even have it at the end of the fight. How do I practice this in ranked? If you do not have to use your slide to keep yourself alive versus a dive composition, practice utilizing it to change your angle and sightline moving from cover to cover. What's the number one rule in Sojourn? I think would be for most players, probably taking a second, or not a full second, but taking a quick pause before you shoot your rails. Most Sojourns I work with, Lexa will back me up, rush the rails. They just go, you just like mash it, relax. Land your rails by taking a second. And even if you miss it, you need to practice making that transition from AFK projectile spam into hitting your rails. When is it better to play Sojourn over Hanzo? Sojourn's generally a lot better on shorter sightline maps, especially versus divier or brawl comps. Hanzo is a much better sniper and on longer sightlines, and he does well when he's not being dove. If you're being dove a lot, Sojourn's going to be better. Also, how do I avoid losing my railgun charge without feeding? Make sure you have a good angle. It's all about your positioning. If your position means that you build rail and then you die, then your positioning is bad.